contribution that would help change someone's life or that would move myself forward in my spiritual journey. Also, my family. You too could help make a difference by following this Rumble channel and sharing if you like any of the videos and content that is posted today. And I would like to say in advance, thank you for making your contribution and helping us make the world a better place. All right. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, the way this is going to work, I'm going to be playing a couple of videos to use as reference to the topics that I'm discussing. In the meantime, I will try to answer um, as many of the questions as I can from you guys regarding, your concerns and what have you. So I want to start off talking about spiritual awakening and symptoms there that could be experienced. And myself, spiritual awakening, I found to be a very challenging and beautiful experience. I'm going to be discussing some of the symptoms I've had, some of the signs that you can know that. Spiritual awakening anxiety and panic attacks are caused by the fact that our bodies are changing its vibration and energy levels, and this can be very frightening. It is also partly due to the fact that there's certain information that we uncover about ourselves which changes our perception of the social norms and social behaviors that we are used to. Our priorities suddenly shift, and you may find that you are no longer finding your job fulfilling. You may find that your life is falling apart, and everything about the concept of who you are is shattered into pieces and vanishes. Join me as I will be discussing. So I want to talk about this. Let me pause this segment. I'm going to talk about my experience in that situation. So basically, when I first started off my spiritual awakening, it came as a surprise. The first thing that I found that happened was it was a trip to the emergency room where I thought that I was having a heart attack. Essentially, what I was experiencing is when you're going through a spiritual awakening, the energy shifts. And when the energy shifts and you're starting to be recalibrated, your energy goes so low at one point, and we're talking your life force energy. It goes so chest, um, arm pain, and it was something else. And so after this point in my spiritual awakening, I started experiencing when I go out to the public, I start experiencing a deep sadness in the world, the negative energy, or all the energies. But first, what I experience is the negative energy. It's almost like the the angels were trying to show me, God was trying to show me, the universe was trying to show me the work that needs to be done, right? So that trying to show me essentially what state we're in as human beings, and the little bit, or excuse me, the way that we have to improve. And so it was kind of daunting in that sense. I feel, seeing the homeless people, and people would just walk by them, and not even give them their attention and say, hey, if you know, there was one person I see that actually stabbed a dog in the throat. And ironically, it was a place where a whole bunch of people died in an accident. So there was a lot of negative energy there that was accumulated, and you could kind of feel it, and it's really contagious. and you start feeling, or I started feeling in my case, this sadness inside me, this grief, this anguish, you know, thinking about, the energies in the world, the negative energies in the world, and how much I needed to do my part to help. So I wanted to comment on that portion. So let's go ahead and go forward in this video. So, my personal experiences with spiritual awakening and spiritual awakening anxiety. Also, I'll be sharing some of the tips that I use in order to make the spiritual awakening transition more comfortable. I would like to add that this video assumes that you have already been examined medically and mentally and have been given a clean bill of health, as the symptoms discussed in this video may be caused by something other than the spiritual awakening process. Awakening is that um, if you're a healer, it seems like that healers experience a amplified version of the spiritual awakening symptoms. And my experience with it was is that, well, number one, obviously with the heart attack uh, scare, which it really wasn't. What happens, guys, is the stomach, right? The stomach and the heart is really sensitive. And the stomach, as you can see, for example, when you get emotional, what happens? Your stomach gurgles. People want to vomit, that sort of thing. The stomach and heart are really, really sensitive to energies. And what happens is with those energy shifts, it causes GERD, which is what I end up having going through. Although I wasn't officially diagnosed with GERD, I end up having GERD. Um, but where I'm going with this, amongst that and other symptoms, healers uh, basically will go through a chain of symptoms that seem to be more extreme than the average spiritual awakening symptoms. The reason why is because we are being trained in order to use the our energy to heal and everything. And so each one of those symptoms that I had to learn to hone my skills to treat that particular symptom in order to help other people. For example, when I had a headache and everything, and being a healer or an energy transmuter myself, I can pull and push negative energy, or excuse me, energy in general, or transmute energy. And so, like for example, putting my hand on top of my head, I could pull that energy out, or I could add energy. For example, if a person was in a low energy state, their vital energy, I was being trained to add energy to the sacral, or the sacral and the sacral chakra using my hands and transmuting that energy. So those are a couple of examples. Um, how to radiate energy out, how to absorb energy in consciously, different things like that. And so, if you're a healer, you're going to experience the symptoms a little bit stronger than the average person. Let's go ahead and proceed. During a spiritual awakening, your hormones can be all over the place during a spiritual awakening. Their primary function from a spiritual standpoint is to carry messages from the chakras to the organs they work with. If there's an imbalance in a chakra, for example, certain stress hormones such as cortisol or adrenaline can be released, which will throw your body into a fight or flight response, making you think that you're dying or there's something serious happening to the body when that's not the case. In my personal experience, I had an increase of adrenaline or epinephrine, which caused my blood pressure to raise, and I had restlessness for literally weeks on end, and I would wake up in the middle of the night. During Let me speak on this part, the blood pressure, right? The blood pressure is one of the main things that one will experience. Not everybody, but if you have, like in my case, my blood pressure, went up to an elevated state again because obviously there's a chain reaction. The stomach's reacting, then the heart's reacting to the energy shifts. your electrical impulses in your body are reacting, which controls the muscles in your arteries and in your veins, right? This is me looking back in hindsight, what I learned after studying and figuring out what was going on with me in that scary moment. And so, with that being said, your blood pressure is going to skyrocket. And if you, that's one thing to always check. If you have, if you feel that you're having a spiritual awakening, and you know that you don't have any chronic symptoms, and you're perfectly healthy for the most part, but there's something, and you have a really good, your intuition is telling you, always follow your intuition. Your intuition is telling you there's something happened that is possibly not the normal physical symptoms. It could be because of that. So considering that particular thing, it could be the spiritual awakening shift, especially if you already know yourself to be sensitive to energies. The day I was very fatigued and sometimes lacked the strength to go upstairs. I had two physical exams and blood work done in two different places and was given a clean bill of health. It was just given instructions to rest pain in the underarm or in my shoulder area that wouldn't allow me to sit in a certain posture. I alleviated this through drinking more water in order to clean my system. Also, I would cut my food into thick, smaller portions and took the time to chew my food well in order to help with digestion. My body would not allow me to consume anything that had to do with dairy products or that contained meat at this time in my spiritual awakening, with the exception of yogurt, which has the bacteria to help digest lactose. And this, I definitely want to comment on this portion. Now, this this was interesting to me because before my spiritual awakening, I often asked why, like I know some of the other religions, like some of the other religions like Islam or what have you, they don't eat meat, and even the churches will tell you, or most religions will tell you, keep your temple clean, right? And growing up, one thinks, well, wait a minute, it's just something that is a simple dogma, that they tell you to do to follow some rule. But looking back on it, I could understand what happens is these uh, these things literally cause low vibration, and the reason why they cause low vibration is they take energy. Low vibration is simply the lack of energy, right? This is number one, something I learned in honing my energy transmuter skills, right? And I put two and two together. For example, when they say negative energy and positive energy, I learned that it works the same way in the spiritual world. What is negative energy? The lack of energy because it's negative. What is positive energy? The accumulation of energy. So, what happens when we get negative energy, right? Or what happens when we're hungry? What happens when we're tired? We get cranky. We get impatient. We get, argumentative at times. What happens when we're happy or when we have a lot of energy? We get happy. We can jump higher. We can. We feel like, depending on your personality. In my case, I feel a big a piece of meat. They have to lay up under that tree for a while, and it puts you to sleep. It puts them to sleep. Excuse me, because it takes a lot of energy to digest. In the meantime, because that body has low energy, those other functions are compromised, and that includes anything like your pineal gland. All that's compromised in your connection to the spiritual world. And in the spiritual awakening, if you have those energies bombarding your system and taking out of your system because it's trying to recalibrate, it's going to cause some problems. So, what I learned and I wanted to share this is that uh, the way I thought, or the way I found out, is that the negative energy is simply a lack of energy. And so when I'm doing my healing, right, a lot of times, say for example, if you're sick, when your immune system's low, it's because you have low energy. What happens when you get sick? Your energy goes. What happens when you eat sweets, right? When you eat sweets, it lowers your immune system because it takes away energy. What happens to a hyper child when you give them Ritalin or when you give them more sugar? They go to sleep. And so thinking about this is like, okay, now I know, sometimes when I'm healing, I need to give energy. Maybe if it's not an acute problem in a certain area of the body, I need to put energy in there. Say if they had the flu, I need to put energy in there. Item that I used to question that about that what walks item remind you how you heard it or figure out goal experience term and move and you reveal of the everything you do to and with money unless all of that is that right with the person for now like better every day because certain experience we start I do and contract my experience time is going to wait for the right turn the right bulb to realize how the experience going to you get or so you could if they give the cover if ever the must so there's what I the job we're how far are those different are movie where makes please sisters did the said better right I figured the illusion friends they say you in love with you but found that they believe they're into even it's hard called they basically it's very induced they say and simply go need to